Fancy a small car, but something less obvious than a Ford Fiesta or Volkswagen Polo? Well, you could go Spanish, Czech, or Japanese. And I'm not just talking about for dinner.
But which would you choose between the all-new SEAT Ibiza, the recently revised Skoda Fabia, or the less so recently revised Toyota Yaris? Let's find out.
To help you decide, I'm going to compare their interiors.
It looks as if I've designed it after about 10 pints.
See how practical they are.
Also, you can store it out the way, look. God.
And find out what they're like to drive. But first of all, let's look at how much they cost.
The Toyota Yaris starts from just over £13,000, the Skoda Fabia from just under £13,000, and the SEAT Ibiza from just over £15,000. Now click up there on the pop-out banner to go to CarWow. There you can use our car configurator to build your ideal car, one of these or any car for that matter, and you'll get 5 offers back from dealers with the best prices they can do, all without having to haggle.
When you do the maths and compare the cars like for engines and equipment, it's the Fabia which comes out as the best value. But does that mean it feels the most budget to sit in? Well, no, not quite.
Skoda's made a few updates to the inside of the Fabia, so now all models get this infotainment screen rather than a smaller one. Though, to be fair, this info screen is a bit old-fashioned. The graphics are blocky, the resolution's not great, and it's a touch laggy. It's not as good as those in the very latest VW Group cars. There's some other bits of trim that are new as well. I can't really spot them or point them out to you, I'm afraid. It looks very similar to the previous generation Fabia, and it's all a bit black and plasticky. At least it's sturdy, look, sturdy, so that's fine. Now this car is the Monte Carlo, so you've got some sportier seats, and they've got this rather naff carbon fibre effect on them, so I'm not sure about that. Still, at least they're comfy to sit in, and you do get a sporty steering wheel. Isn't that nice?
What's not so nice though is the interior style, or lack thereof, of the Toyota Yaris.
I don't know what the heck is going on with this car's dash. It looks as if I've designed it after about 10 pints. I mean, it's just a dog's dinner of random shapes all over the place. Some weird cubbies up here, another one down here. And then the infotainment system slightly offset. And in fact, the infotainment system is a bit old and not great to use. Yeah, that's enough said about that, really. And then there's the build quality, which is just terrible in some places. I mean, look at this, right? The center console, I think it's held on by about 1 screw. The only thing is though, while it may feel flimsy and cheap in places, this car, it's probably less likely to actually break than the other two, because it's a Toyota.
Meanwhile, the SEAT is the one that's most likely to appeal if you want the latest tech.
Inside, this SEAT Ibiza just feels the most modern of the three, by far. The main reason for that is the infotainment screen. So this is the largest one you can get, and it's nice and bright, it's very clear, easy to use. You can go through different menus, swipe across. It's, yeah, simple, and you've got obviously your smartphone integration, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You've got it all. It's dead easy to use. I do like it. In fact, there's no point using the actual inbuilt navigation system. You can just use the one off your phone. I think it's a bit better though. Look, yeah, it's all very smooth and sharp and not too much lag. I like that. Also the design, it's clear, it's functional, it's not the most exciting. These panels, which have a bit of a contrasting colour, and you can have them in different colours actually, they do make the dash just seem a bit more interesting, though it's all hard plastics throughout this cabin. You know, it doesn't feel expensive. It doesn't feel as posh as a Polo, let's say. Solid though, look at that. Can't shake the centre console at all. The steering wheel feels nice, and it's all simple to use, and the seats are comfy. The only weird thing is this. Look, there's a strange ridge. I don't know what that's there for on the dash. That's the only thing that I find a bit odd. Other than that, really like the interior.
So then, the Ibiza is the best car for those in the front. But what about for rear passengers?
Here in the back of the SEAT Ibiza, there is plenty of room for a small car. Look at this. I've got decent knee room and headroom. Adults over 6 foot will be fine here. Kids will love it. Tell you what reminds me of being a kid. Look. Windy down windows. It's like the 80s all over again. Don't know why I'm smiling. It's annoying.
And speaking of annoying, there's something you need to know about the Skoda's back seats.
The Fabia is quite a tall car, and yeah, you can see headroom is decent. People over 6 foot would be all right for headroom. What they'll struggle with though is knee room. Look at that. I mean, I've not really got much at all. It's really tight and the footwells are tight. It's not great, but kids will be all right back here, and kids will like this. Look, the rear windows, they go all the way down so they can lean out like that.
So the Fabia is a bit of a compromise for rear passengers, but it's not the only one.
It's a bit of a mixed bag here in the back of the Toyota Yaris. You see, knee room is all right. I've got a flat floor, completely flat floor, so decent foot space. The problem is headroom. Now, I'm actually okay, but if I lean back, you'll see my head hits the roof lining as it slopes down. Taller people really struggle back here. Kids won't care. They'll be more than happy enough, I guess. As happy as you can be in a Toyota Yaris. Sorry, Toyota.
Actually, no, I'm not. And while I'm sticking the knife in, it's pretty bad for carrying 3 in the back at once too. And while it's easy getting a child seat through the back door, locating the hidden Isofix anchor points is a real fiddle. This isn't a problem in the Fabia, as its Isofix points are easier to get to, but like the Yaris, it's pretty bad for carrying 3 in the back at once. Really, the Ibiza is the only one where it's bearable for 3 in the back, and when you add to the fact that it's not really that much harder to fit a child seat in than with the Yaris, it's the best of the bunch for carrying passengers. But what about when it comes to carrying stuff?
It's amazing how much space I've got out of this little Ibiza. So the boot is the biggest of the 3. It's got 355 litres worth of space, actually, if you're interested in the numbers. Probably don't mean anything to you. Lots of room for your luggage. There's not much functionality though. It's like just a squarish shape with a few places you might be able to tie things down. And that's about it.
You can fit a decent amount of luggage in the boot, and with the rear seats folded, you can carry a bike without having to remove its front wheel, which is handy. So, how does the Skoda quite literally measure up?
The Fabia's boot capacity is 330 litres, which is pretty decent. And it's got some nice features as well. Look, there's some bag hooks there to hang your shopping off, a little storage area here. And I like this. You can, if you want, if we can get it off, alter the height of the parcel shelf. So you can have it there if you want. Also, you can store it out the way, look. God. Also, you can store it out the way. Look. There you are, if you want to carry taller items in the boot. Clever.
What's not so clever is the fact that while deep, the Fabia's boot is quite narrow. So you can't actually fit in a set of golf clubs. And even with the rear seats folded, if you want to carry a bike, you'll need to remove the front wheel, which is a faff. And this brings me on to the even less roomy Toyota.
The Yaris's boot is the smallest of these 3 cars with 286 litres. The good news is though, if you have the hybrid version, it doesn't actually reduce the boot space like it does on some other hybrids because they've managed to put the batteries somewhere else rather than underneath the boot floor. A good thing about this car though is, look, if I can get at it, hey, you get a space saver spare wheel. None of this kind of like tyre sealant repair kit that no one can ever use and end up having to call a breakdown service to actually help them out. The thing I find odd about it though is, look, there seems to be a little kind of ledge around the place where you can fit a riseable boot floor, but I've checked the car's brochure and there's no mention of it being available as an option. So maybe you get it in other markets, but you've still got the mouldings here in the UK to let you see what you could have won. One thing that also annoys me is this, look, this has to be one of the cheapest parcel shelves of any car. People hate it when I throw things like car parts about, but this car deserves it. I think I've just broken it.
Don't worry, I didn't really. Though I did almost break some of our props by trying and failing to fit as much in the Toyota's boot as in the other 2 cars. Still, it did beat the Fabia when it came to carrying a bike, as the longer load bed means you can actually squeeze it in without having to remove a wheel. But still, overall, it's the least practical car here. So, can it make up for this on the road?
I'm going to try and sum up what these 3 little cars are like to drive just by using facial expressions. So, the Toyota Yaris is, what I'm essentially trying to say with that face is, yeah, this car, it's not particularly memorable. I wouldn't say that it's great at anything, and it's not terrible either. It's just fine, I guess. One thing that does make it stand out is that you can get it as a hybrid, and then that car makes a lot of sense because it can do 80 miles per gallon if you drive it very carefully. This 1.5 is one that I would recommend returning 48 miles per gallon. It's a car. I'll leave it at that.
So then, the offering from Japan is mediocre to drive at best. But how about its checkmate? Get it? Checkmate? Chess? Skoda's check. Anyway, moving on.
So then, here's my facial expression to describe the driving experience of the Skoda Fabia. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that, once again, it's all right, but nothing particularly special. You do feel that it's a little bit more bumpy than the Toyota Yaris, Engine-wise, it's quite different. So the Toyota Yaris's engine is smoother, but it really shrieks when you rev it. This is a 3-cylinder rather than the 4-cylinder in the Toyota, and as a result, it's kind of gruffer and a bit more gravelly, and you can feel it shake when you rev it, but it doesn't seem quite so noisy when you do rev it out. It feels more punchy in gear, but then it runs out of puff at the top end, whereas the Toyota's the other way around. So really quite different. Which one do I prefer to drive? I say this one. I prefer the in-gear shove. In terms of the rest of the driving experience though, yeah, it probably goes around corners a bit better than the Toyota, but it's not quite as good over bumps. Other than that, it's quite similar really.
The economy I achieved with this car was less than the Yaris at 42 miles per gallon, but still alright.
Finally then, I'm in the SEAT Ibiza, and I'm going to illustrate what I think of its driving experience, once again, by using a facial expression. And here it is. That's my pleasantly surprised face, because this is actually a very nice car to drive. It's noticeably better than the other two actually. There's a reason for that. You see, they're both quite old cars. This is much newer. Now, SEAT is part of the Volkswagen Group, which Skoda is, and the Skoda Fabia is based on the Volkswagen Polo, and so is this based on the Volkswagen Polo. It's just that this is based on the newest Volkswagen Polo, and the Skoda is the older one. So this just feels like a more modern car to drive. It's just quieter, it's comfier. It does have the same engines as the Fabia though, because the older Fabia does get the most modern VW Group engines. So the same applies to the engines in this car as it did in the Fabia. So pretty good. There's actually a wider choice with this because you can get a diesel and a 1.5, which is really nippy. Really though, I can sum up by saying that this car is easily the nicest of the three to drive. It's the comfiest, it's the quietest, and it handles the best as well.
And in case you're wondering, the 1-litre turbo in the SEAT managed 44 miles per gallon. So then, where does all this leave us?
Well, the Toyota Yaris, you know what you're going to get. It's a Toyota, it's reliable. Then the Skoda Fabia, it's really, really good value for money, and in this spec it actually looks quite cool. But the clear winner is the SEAT Ibiza. I mean, it just feels so much more modern than the other two, not only on the inside, but also to drive and in terms of its technology. Plus, it's the most spacious. And that's why it wins this test. Rather easily, in fact.
If you enjoyed this video, please click on our logo to subscribe to this channel, or to watch more content on the bottom right hand corner. However, if you want to save money on a car, click on the right to go to our deals page to see how much money you can save at CarWow.